Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation is Maj Mahalla Chautha. Har Gur Gyan Har Ras Har Paya, Man Har Rang Rata Har Ras Piyaya. Har Har Naam Mukh Har Har Boli, Man Har Ras Tul Tul Paunda Jiyo. आवो संत मैं गल मिलाइए, मेरे प्रीतम की मैं कथा सुनाइए. हर के संत मिलो मन देवा, जो गुरबाणी मुखे चाहुंदा जियो. वडभागी हर संत मिलाया, गुरपूरे हर रस मुख पाया. भागहीन सतगुर नहीं पाया, मन मुख गर्भ जोनी नित पाउंदा जियो. आप दयाल दया प्रभ तारी, मलहौ में बिखया सब निवारी. नानक हट पट्टन विच काया, हर लैंदे गुरमुख सौदा जियो. Now, Gurmat, we should remind ourselves, is the psychology of cultivating self-awareness, of self-knowledge, which in turn leads to self-realization and self-actualization. And so in the first section of this Chaupada, four-sectioned composition, the first section hints at what self-realization feels like when we are given the tonic or the elixir of Gur wisdom. When the medicine of Gur wisdom is administered, remember, we are not awake, we are trapped in a delusional world, so we have to be given medicine. The medicine is Gur wisdom. Man har rang rata har ras piyaya. We have to be given that dose. When that happens, the mind first absorbs the medicine, just like a sponge absorbs water. With that comes a growing self-awareness. Har Gur Gyan Har Ras Har Paya. So Gur wisdom then also cultures the speech and intellect and rejuvenates, revitalizes the mind with a sense of overwhelming love. Har Har Naam Mukh Har Har Boli, Man Har Ras Tul Tul Paunda Jiyo, overflowing with love. So we need to understand, perhaps, what does it mean to say that the mind becomes increasingly cultured and self-aware, increasingly vivified, that is, animated and rejuvenated with love? What does that really mean? To put it in very simple terms, it implies that this is the beginning of a process of curing, if you will, with the tonic. The mind begins to reprogram itself. It becomes progressively more attuned to the inner world of feeling, of emotion, of desire. Instead of being reactive and driven by the senses, as it is now, it begins to actually slow down. The velocity of your thoughts begin to slow down. It becomes more proactive and perhaps more preemptive in that it can anticipate things better because it is slowing down. And any change is reflected in speech and in the intellect because these are the external markers of internal change. Our speech reflects the state of our mind. And with Gur wisdom, our speech, our mind is affected, and our speech naturally reflects that. It becomes, wisdom cultures the intellect with discernment, and it refines the speech with sweetness. These are two markers that we should always be aware of. Remember, Guru Nanak, sweetness of speech, mittha bolani. Sajanada mera, sajanada, speak sweetly. Now, for this process to trigger, one has to seek guidance on how to do it. And now this guidance is paramount in Gurbani. We have seen so far, and we will continue to see this. We will encounter this advice in practically every sabad that we read. The need for enlightened guidance on this path. And so readers and listeners should assimilate this into their minds as a foundation. This is the foundational axiom of Gurmat and Sikhi. The fact that you need Gur wisdom. And the authors of the Guru Granth Sahib have constantly pled for Gur guidance, and this passage is no exception. When the Guru says, "Abo Sant main gal milaya, mere pritam ki main katha sunai." I will offer my mind to the enlightened one who inculcates Gur wisdom in me. Har ke sant mile man deva. Je har ke sant mile man deva. And what does Har ke Sant do? Jo Gurbani Mukh Chonda Jiyo. Mukh Chonda, from the mouth of this enlightened one flows Gurbani, that wisdom. And so my mind is offered so that it can be filled with wisdom. And there are consequences of not connecting with the enlightener. Again, something that is over and over visible in the Guru Granth Sahib. It is considered to be a great misfortune not to be able to connect with the enlightener, because it will leave you stuck in the rut of ego consciousness. Even though Gurbani uses a line like Bhagheen Satgur nahi paya manmukh garb joni nit paunda jiyo. Now, I know that garb joni nit paunda jiyo has been translated or is read as reincarnation of different, of lives and so on. That is a larger process, but we should understand this to mean that you're in the rut of repeating yourself over and over again. It's insanity, because you're expecting different results, so you have to do things differently. So that's the rut that you get caught in this life. You become a prisoner of self-perpetuating incarceration. You are doing it to yourself through the ego. So it is a matter of great regret, of great misfortune, that you should not be able to link with the enlightener. And then having linked with an enlightener, not to be receptive. Because escaping from the prison of the ego, as I said, is the central problem in Sikhi. And it is paradoxical too, because Haume is self-referential and cannot escape itself any more than you can bite your teeth or see yourself, except in a mirror, in a reflection. And yet Gurbani tells us, Haume tirag rog hai, daru bhi ismai. It itself is the solution and must make the first move, which means it must become receptive to Gurbani, attentive. You have to ask yourself, are you really attentive to Gurbani? You may be doing a lot of Path and Japji Sahib and Nitnem and what have you, but are you really receptive? Are you attentive? Or is Nitnem simply a ritual for you? Think about it. So you have to be receptive. And only then will the Haume learn to transcend itself. Aap dayal daya prabtari mal haume bikya sab nivari. The point is that this paradox cannot be resolved intellectually. That is why the Guru speaks about aap dayal daya prabtari, compassion. We require that element of compassion, of grace, to be able to see a way to resolve the paradox of our own egos, because it cannot be resolved intellectually. There are latent faculties that have to be awakened, which are deep within us. And that is the hint that this passage gives us in the end. Nanak, hat pattan which inside of you, deep within the settlement of the body, hat pattan which kaya, har lende gurmukh sauda jiyo. Har is the exchange, the self is the exchange, where you trade your ego for self-knowledge. So there's the hint. Not intellectualization, not external rituals. It is internalization of Gurmat that is going to show you the way to resolve the paradox of your own ego. With that thought, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.